If you want a well choreographed musical, you go Bubsy Berkeley. If it's a spaghetti western you're after, then you want some Sergio Leone. But if you're looking for outrageous comedies that are as funny as they are unpredictable, then it's the Farrelly Brothers you call. With a filmography that also includes pictures such as Kingpin, There's Something About Mary, and Shallow Hal, it's difficult to argue that the duo of brothers can't make anyone with a pulse laugh out loud. Even in throwaway transitional shots, the Farrelly brothers insert jokes like Jim Carrey's Lloyd, just discovering that we landed on the moon because Dumb and Dumber always has time for an extra laugh. The film works so well because the audience is given an omnipotent point of view, which makes us the only smart ones in the room. Lloyd and Harry may be dumb, but hilariously, the film's villains are dumber because they assume our heroes are smarter than they are. Just when you think you've heard a punchline, here comes another one, reminding us that the characters may be unified in harmonious bewilderment, but the filmmakers know exactly what they're doing. This is a romantic buddy flick comedy if there ever was one. Although both men fall in love with a married woman, it's their love and support for each other that continuously saves them, and often without the boys even being aware of it. Maybe true ignorance is bliss, but Dumb and Dumber suggests that maybe it's more blissful to observe idiots than be one. My friend, director Dan Stewart, has joined me to score the film, so let's get his thoughts. Dan, welcome to the jungle, buddy.
Hey, it is good to be in the jungle.
When I had to choose a friend, somebody to review Dumb and Dumber with, it could sound like an insult if I said you were the first person that popped into my mind, but it's not. I mean that because you're a really sharp, funny guy. You have great comedic sensibilities. You're a director. So I was like, oh, this Dan is perfect. Perfect guy.
Dumb and Dumber was definitely one of those in the 90s, growing up as a 90s kid. Dumb and Dumber, The Mask, Ace Ventura. That was the trifecta, the holy trinity of Jim Carrey. So much of me growing up was resonating with Jim Carrey's ability to make people laugh. Also, I would say Austin Powers and like that dumb goof stuff where it's just like they are punching you in the face with humor and jokes so fast and frequently in Dumb and Dumber. I was so surprised watching it again, not just on like TBS in the background or like whenever it comes on, I'm just turning it on. And
oh, absolutely. It's like a great album.
It really is. The opening credits, I just noticed for the first time, there's a bunch of misspellings. They're visually telling those jokes. They're narratively weaving in visual and audible jokes nonstop for the whole thing.
And one of the maybe the only things that Dumb and Dumber has in common with the film Precious, based on the novel Push by Sapphire, both contain misspelled words purposefully in the title sequence. We'll play a little game called How Many Things Does Dumb and Dumber Have in Common with Precious? It might be the worst drinking game in the history of podcasts. Dan, those are really great points. I feel like even amongst a very silly bouquet of performances that Jim Carrey has in the 90s, this is a really specific kind of and unique brand of silly. It's also somehow unique to Dumb and Dumber.
Man, just it's the obscenity of his visual performances, full body performances of The Mask and Ace Ventura. He just goes on somehow within, it's almost like within the same spectrum, but it is also the opposite side of the spectrum. I guess just playing like a total idiot. And he's also like Jim Carrey's also an asshole in this movie to Harry.
Yeah, he's not the good friend.
He's not. I watched that, I feel like with an eagle eye this time around, just like, man, he really is just a douche. It's really unfortunate what Harry has to kind of put up with. Maybe it's more of a drama.
All great stories, they say, can play out as a comedy or a drama, and that's a great example. This is very much a comedy, but you change you turn the knob a little, and this could play out as a drama. We stick to plot first. We talk about plot. You've already kind of talked a little bit about how funny this movie is and how many jokes there are. And I think a great comedy, a great feature film is in and of itself a joke. And this movie does kind of play out with a setup and a punchline. When we talk about the plot of Dumb and Dumber, Dan,
watching it recently, I kind of felt like there was a moment where it was like, okay, this is probably where you could have shrunk down a little bit of that screen time and gotten this from an hour 52 minutes to like an hour 30. I think this would have been a really strong 90-minute. So much of that journey is like literally them chasing the girl. It's such a wild ride. The exploration and dynamic of their friendship. So I think it really does a good job at portraying Lloyd as a bad friend and Harry as like kind of the misfortunate friend who just like blindly, bestows his trust in this guy. I mean, they really are like Dumb and Dumber. Like I think they they nailed the title of the movie.
So you rate a 10 out of 10 for the title. Well, if you had the final edit, what are you axing?
I kind of feel like if you're watching Jaws, it all just climaxes and then it just drops off, right? I
Mhm.
think they probably could have done that just a little more. I mean, they really kind of do that, with the shootout at the end and then it just wraps up. But I think all of that time in Lodge could be just a little quicker, maybe with like the deception of like the friend Harry telling him like 10 a.m. at the bar, 10 p.m. You see like all of the
Yeah.
montage of them having fun and stuff. I think at that point we've written so many of those jokes that you could probably condense it down just a little faster. But at the same time, like it would be a crime almost to cut any of these like wild scenes out of the movie. Like the fantasy when Lloyd is driving and Harry's sleeping, like that is a long cutaway like dream sequence that has to stay. I think the Farrelly brothers had just enough time to cook and like really have fun.
It is probably an easier question to ask you before you watch the movie than after. There's such a surplus of jokes, and it's hard to think of, well, what do you cut, what do you don't cut. But I think that if you go the date that you mentioned that they go on, and the sort of accident, or no, well, it's not an accidental date, but they're not exactly out in the open about it. And the funniest part of that scene to me is the snowball fight. I almost feel like you could cut his tongue getting stuck on
You could, yeah.
because as funny as that is visually, as memorable as that is, there's so much extra in all these scenes that will technically. And I said it in my open. I mean, one of the biggest laughs for me is when he's walking out of the bar and he looks in at the headline from 1969 that says we've landed on the moon, and he celebrates it. And that is a completely unnecessary joke. I think it's an interesting criticism that maybe it could be tightened up, and I wouldn't want to be the one to have to trim things. How would you grade the plot? Does it do enough for you? Does it work?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it really is getting these two fools from zero to heroes and then immediately back down to zero. I don't know. Like, I would probably go like an 8. It's worth how well it did at the box office.
Yeah, this movie did exceedingly well. It has an estimated budget of 17 million, I think, and it had a worldwide gross of 247 million dollars. And I'm sure that includes
Incredible.
maybe a re-release or two over the years. But in the US alone, I mean, the movie's made 127 million dollars off a 17 million dollar
Oh,
budget. So you can't do much better than a 110 million dollar profit. The next category is characters and performances. Jeff Daniels, he's great in this, and as many comedic performances as we can point to in Jim Carrey's career, not as many in Jeff Daniels' career. So almost, in my opinion, a little more impressive. What were your thoughts on the cast in general? But maybe we'll start with Harry or Jeff Daniels' Harry.
he plays a little bit more of like the straight man. It makes sense, I think, when like Mary has a love interest in him because he's kind of just like he's just a simple man when you boil Harry down to it. And then Lloyd is like dude's insane, and then Harry is just like kind of lovable. Like I guess you have to feel a little bit of sympathy for him throughout the whole movie to really appreciate his character. They mess up his hair. Like his hair doesn't look good the whole movie.
No, there's
Um,
not.
like at least Jim Carrey's like coconut cut is almost forgiving, but like Harry looks like, well, I guess he's dressed as the dog and he's not groomed himself. Like maybe that's just
Maybe he's.
another level.
I can't remember who drew the comparison. Maybe it was Matt Groening himself. But he once said one of the reasons we love Homer Simpson is because Marge loves Homer Simpson. It's easier to love Lloyd because there's somebody there who is more lovable, who loves them. And I think that, yeah, I think Harry is like really, he's a sweetheart. Like he's the most conflicted, understanding that there's a woman interested in him who his friend is interested in. He's almost a victim of the circumstance, and he
Right.
does feel guilty when he takes time to enjoy it. There's almost two shades of dumb here, and one is pure kind dumb, and the other one is a little bit more calculated. I mean, Lloyd is has a plan, has an agenda. He's trying to execute something.
To get back to just Jeff Daniels' performance as Harry, I obviously don't want to just boil this down to like poop and fart jokes, but his scene in the bathroom, that whole ordeal, I think if you're watching this movie for the first time and you see Jeff Daniels and you're like, oh yeah, he's funny and stuff, and then it gets to that, you arrive at that point in the movie, he's on the toilet, he's just, it's like,
Right. It's this
I mean, it's the worst. It's
like,
the
yeah.
worst of the worst that you can kind of portray on screen. Like, well, I'm gonna be known as like the guy that blew up a toilet in this movie. That's one of those frames, like him hugging the toilet. That might be one of the most famous, memes or pictures from the movie outside of them wearing like those suits.
Chaplin-esque in its sort of visual
Oh
and
my
like,
god.
because it's a physical comedic performance, and it is parroting or satirizing a horrifying experience that people have. He has to visually represent that in the most comedic way possible for it to pay off. Otherwise, we're just suffering with who is effectively the most lovable character in the movie. Mike Starr has a really funny performance. He plays this sort of mob hand who decapitates a bird.
I mean, he really like is a first act middleman. He's literally in the middle of trying to understand if these guys are smart, or he thinks that they're smart, and then he finds out just before he dies that they're dumb. To have to play it straight in between Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels, like in the car specifically, to sit there and to not like laugh, but to
Yeah.
actually be tormented, like to play torment, for him to do that, and play against them, I think is probably like some kind of award that he deserves. I don't know what that is, but it's an accolade.
Dan Stewart Straight Man Award. And
And
he's that constant barometer of like normalness to remind you of how absurd things are because he's so upset by everything else. Well, then let me ask you, 1 out of 10.
I think I would have liked a little bit of a better, bigger bad. So I'm going to go 9. Jim Carrey's a 10. Jeff Daniels is a 10. I would give Mike Starr a 10 for like his role. Lauren Holly, I think she was a 10 too. Like she played ball. She was great.
She has a very sort of femme fatale look, but she's tasked with being a love interest.
Yeah, so a nine
A
right there.
9, locked in a 9.
Can I go 9.5? Can I
You
go 9?
can. The next category is visual storytelling. A lot of the humor is supported by the edit and the framing of the shots and everything. So yeah, your
Total 10.
visual storytelling.
It's a 10.
A 10. Wow.
I just it's I think it's a 10. I think this thing, it's like every shot really does the whole character or the plot justice. That intro is so great for like 5 minutes. It's that funky song, and it's just like boom, body, boom, like that funky kind of like
Oh yeah.
we're getting into some territory that kind of feels like it might be a little uncharted. I think just all of those visuals,
Yeah.
worms in the living room, the couch. I mean, it's like they say something like, I don't think they're gonna, if we can send them a message, let's mess up their place. I'm like, I don't think they're gonna get that message. Like they're living in filth, literal like a vertical column of worms. It's so strong, God. And I think the editing really is great. The end of that dream sequence.
Oh, the dream sequences in this movie are so funny. There's a
Yeah, like,
few, and they're so funny.
and this guy, so cinematographer, I haven't
So he's had a really
fly and scream.
Mark Irwin, who's the cinematographer. Videodrome is probably his earliest work that people would be familiar with, but like you said, The Fly, Scream, amongst some other things. What you do on set has to be compounded in the edit, or it's all for nothing. And the same exact thing can be said for comedy. And for a movie to have so many jokes, and so many jokes that work in the edit, is the perfect handshake between the cinematographer and the editor. But so many frames are just funny. If you watch this movie on mute, I think you laugh. I think there are plenty of times, like you said, with
Yeah,
him on the toilet, where you can pull frames from this stills and you could show it to somebody who's never seen the movie and they'd laugh.
yeah. I think just thinking like memorable frames.
Mhm.
There's a wide shot when Lloyd and Harry are splitting up. I love that wide shot. It's one of the few like big landscape shots.
Yeah, but it feels
They're
so
nowhere near the mountains.
creepy.
And then you have the claustrophobic in the bathroom, him hugging the toilet. I mean, it's like there's such a grand spectrum. I think, yeah, everything incorporated into the frame. God, their whole like drive and stuff. It's
The
just
tuxedos.
the tuxedos. Yeah,
When you think of iconic comedic costumes you can think of, maybe the Anchorman look, Tootsie or Dustin Hoffman or something, but or the Dude, and the Big Lebowski is another kind of iconic look. These two guys in the powder blue and pink tux. I mean,
Let's say that's at the top, right? Like that's top wardrobe in this whole thing. But what Harry's wearing, to this when he's going on the ski date, Lloyd calls him out. It's like so flashy and stuff, and he's like, "Oh, you won't, it's not that revealing. You got nothing to show." And he puts on little shorts.
yeah,
They're just like these little like track shorts right over, and it's like the attention to detail there, I think, is great. When Lloyd is trying to go to the date at the bar, he's got those gloves with the
it's fringe like cowboy.
yes,
Fringe. Yeah.
full cowboy, like Colorado cowboy. Like he's got that nailed. He's
Thank you
wearing
for wearing that outfit today, by the way.
well, I love it so much. I love gloves, and I love gloves that just have some flair and some style.
Amazing. Well, I don't have to wrap up this particular category by asking you what the score will be. So I will do this instead. I will let you know and all the listeners know that we have a sponsor called Platinum Plastic. They handle all of our merchandise. If you go to Redbubble, search Platinum Plastic. Make sure you say it and spell it the right way. One of the things we have is a Mutts Cuts design, so you can get a
Oh,
Mutts Cuts
cool!
T-shirt, a hat, a sticker, a pin.
What?
Yeah, available on I think over 30 different items you can get it on right now
Oh
in
man.
the Real Talk shop. Before you go and buy a bunch of Mutts Cuts merch from Real Shop, from the Real Digital merch shop, let's talk about the use of sound.
Oh, it works so well, man. There's such little things. I mean, it complements the visual narrative so well. It sets such a bar, especially for like their first movie. They open up with that funky thing, and the car is like almost bouncing to the music, as well. And these guys are just God, they're such goobers. And you know what? Maybe as iconic as I think that opening song is, the other one that sticks out to me, and it's probably just the way that they're used. The opening, the dream sequence, and then I think the first time Lloyd meets Mary, it's just like Ken from Toy Story 3 when he meets Barbie. The Dream Weaver, it's such a fun trope to play in a movie. Every single track I think was correct.
There's just a little sound bite used at the end of the movie that sounds a little something like kind of a throwaway clip in there at the very end. But yeah,
Oh, it's not a throwaway. I almost wish that's how they ended the movie. If they would have actually done that edit, because that's basically like the Scooby Doo ending. God, when it's just like, oh my God, what is he doing? And he starts shooting like, oh, it's so great. That's a final button.
there's a relentlessness to the comedy in this
Yeah,
movie.
right.
And that's what the ending sort of do. It's just once when you think it's over, it keeps going and then it keeps going and it keeps going. Yeah, well, it sounds like you'd give it a pretty high score, but if you had to designate it a number, 1 out of 10, what would you give the use of sound?
I am, I, but I'm gonna say like I'm gonna give it a 10 as well. Cinematography and music, I think it's just hand in hand. Like they're both deserving of each other, much like Lloyd and Harry are.
Such a profound connection. I love it.
Yeah.
In profound connections is certainly something we can discuss here in our final category of theme. This is a movie, let's face it, it's called Dumb and Dumber. It's not setting out to be the most intelligent film. It is made at the highest technical level. It's performed and directed at the highest technical level. But when we're talking about the themes in this movie, it's not going to be the same conversation we're having if we're talking about Lost in Translation, which we get into later in this episode, Shawshank Redemption, a lot of heavier themes in those movies.
I think theme and plot are the sound and visuals are hand in hand. I think theme and plot, I would have to kind of go about it in the same way. They're not like trying to break you out of any kind of like standardized theme or anything crazy. They're not trying to challenge the theme
This
or
is an
thematic.
Interstellar.
I think at the end of the day, this is probably like it still does its job well. So I'd probably say like a 6 or 7. Maybe it's a little more basic. A story like this isn't calling for anything more. I'd say pretty standardized. I'd go like I'll go like 7. I'll go 7.
7. All right. I locked in a 7 for you. You could go 6.5, but we're going to go 7. You gave the plot an 8. You gave the characters and performances a 9.5. You gave the visual storytelling a 10, the use of sound a 10, and the theme a 7. That gives you a grand total of 89.
I would love to give Dumb and Dumber. I think it's a really strong B plus, and so
Okay.
89, like depending on your academia, I would keep it there because I think there are there's movies that are way more deserving of an A. I don't think this is as bad as a C.
I would agree with that. The next picture is Kingpin. I think that's a better movie.
Mhm.
And then I don't. I personally think of the first three, Kingpin is probably the strongest picture. But I think I probably maybe even enjoy something about Mary more than this. That's not saying much because I really like all three pictures.
There's something about Mary is more wholesome, I think, to a degree, and it's probably because of Ben Stiller, like a little more of a canon. I would give There's Something About Mary probably a 90, maybe a
Yeah.
91. I
Okay.
mean, it's just right above it.
I gave the plot a 9 to your 8. I
Okay,
gave the characters and performances a 9 to your 9.5. I gave the visual storytelling a 10 to your 10. I actually
beautiful.
gave the use of sound an 8 to your 10. Again, I felt like it was technically proficient. You may have twisted my arm a little bit because I don't know. I think I didn't realize how much I appreciated the music until you sort of talked about it. But I did give it an 8, and then the themes I actually gave a 9. I agree that it's not really trying to navigate anything too deep, but even the analogy, the grass is always greener on the other side. There's only one theme there. It's pretty simple, but sometimes it's a really effective analogy. So I looked at this movie as really being aware of its themes and navigating them well, but I do
Totally.
agree that it's not it's not the most profound exploration of them. That gave me a total of 90 to your 89,
Okay.
so not
Yeah.
really that much different. I think as comedies go, I would pretty comfortably call this, an A minus to a B plus. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that averages out to an A. Your B minus to my A minus, or your B plus to my A minus. I think
Yeah.
those
Oh,
are
for sure. Yeah, 100%. Yes, that's what I would. Yep. And this is a heavy hitter. This is a heavy hitter for comedies.
absolutely.
So Airplane, speed of jokes versus speed of jokes and Dumb and Dumber. Airplane's faster still. They are actually keeping pace with each other, I think, fairly well in a
That's
good
a
way.
great connection and comparison because but they are very different structurally. One being a slapstick comedy that allows you to kind of machine gun your audience with a whole variety of jokes and not have to explain it. Where this is a real evolution of that because this is slapstick, but it's like the Batman Begins of slapstick. It's like the most realistic, grounded version of slapstick where everything is explained. You can't just have a character be stupid because it's funny. In this movie, if a character is stupid, they are stupid, and other people will treat them as such. So I really love that comparison because I think it's fair.
I love that analogy. Batman Begins and Casino Royale are
Yeah.
perfect like equilibrium things. Describing it as that evolution of like a slapstick. Jim Carrey's a performer. It's like Jim's on a leash, and then you just
Oh yeah, no,
let go. You just let go, and it's like Jim, command the room, like just make everyone laugh. And oh,
it's incredible. Yeah, Jim Carrey is a one of a kind talent. I mean, the energy he brings, I can't think of anybody. Maybe Robin Williams is the only other performer I can think of that kind of has that same comedic intensity that just seems like it's unbridled and it's lightning in a bottle. I might say you're kind of like lightning in a bottle yourself. Having you here, I feel very lucky. I feel like a very lucky lion. And I'm curious, would you maybe come back someday and review another film? Maybe another
oh,
Farrelly Brothers picture.
I would love to. I would 100% love to just like shoot the shit on any of this kind of stuff. I love
I
it.
love it. Can I put you on the spot and ask you what's on this date, what's Dan's favorite movie? Does director Dan Stewart have a favorite movie he's comfortable revealing to the public here in the jungle, to the Real Talk listeners?
Man, I guess if you boil me down to my bones, I'm just a basic Spielberg junkie. Jurassic Park, I can watch. I'll turn it on to like go to sleep because it's a lullaby to me. And it's like if it's on a TV, I'm watching the whole thing out of respect.
If and when, and it's pretty much, as you know, Owl the Lion is a pretty big fan of Jurassic Park. So I think it's a matter of when we will review Jurassic Park. I'd love to have you back to talk about that film because I can't think of a better. Unless I had Sam Neill on the line, I can't think of a better person.
Hey, I would be down to talk anything. I mean, Man, I got goosebumps when you said Batman Begins because I do have such respect for that movie.
I love it, Dan. I'm so glad. I'm so glad you could do this. I'm so glad you're willing to come back. Thank you, my friend.
Platinum Plastic isn't just a proud sponsor of Real Talk, they're also the home for all our new designs and merchandise. Follow Platinum Plastic on Redbubble to see all our A+ gear. That's Platinum Plastic on Redbubble for all your Real Talk merch.